What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the podcast. Welcome in to another episode of the Triple Play Fantasy Baseball Show, a proud member of Underdog and the Underdog Fantasy family. DMendy, Marty Party, Doc, and Lil Cheesecake with you guys tonight, as always on a Thursday night. Doc, I got to start with you because you are the copy of a copy of a copy of a copy. If I were to ask you, and I were to say you were the Jaylen Brown of this podcast, what would that mean to you?
That I'm a secondary role player to you and that I'm going to request going to my own podcast.
I was wondering where you were going to take that, because you could say that you're an underperformer. You could say that you're a star that deserves to be shined on your own stage. Like, there are so many different ways. I feel like Jaylen Brown is almost like people just curse him now. Like, he's like a totally
he's out of Boston.
Yeah, there's no way he's staying there. We also have Marty Party in the house tonight.
Isn't it baseball season? What are we doing here?
Yeah. Playoff basketball, baseball.
It's not December. There's baseball. Let's talk about baseball.
Yeah, hell yeah. Marty Party's
Marty,
in
you're
baseball
showing
mode.
your age.
Why is that?
That's like the biggest boomer comment you've made since we've been here.
Yeah.
What, to talk about baseball on our baseball podcast?
Oh, how dare he?
It's not December. It's not basketball season.
It's not.
It's always just fun talk season with your boys here. As also, of course, Lil Cheesecake in the house, fresh off hanging with his boys and ready for the show. What's going on?
Not much. I'm crossing my fingers on a Gunnar Henderson getting out of his funk this week, because he was inexplicably dropped in my TGFBI league, and my team there is hurting for hitting. It's also hurting for pitching. So Kopech and Gunnar Henderson were both up last week, and I bid heavy on both. I ended up getting Gunnar, hoping to climb out of the cellar at TGFBI, assert my dominance in the fantasy community.
I can't believe that Gunnar was a free agent in TGFBI.
I was surprised to see him there. I bid 94. The backup bid was only 55. It was I was happy to get him. I didn't mind the overpay at all. He's been pretty good.
Yeah,
I
think
David, you always ask us how we're doing. How does it feel being a liar?
What are you talking about?
I'm talking about you lying.
Oh, the fact that I tweeted your trade?
Oh, 5 minutes before we hop on.
You're not supposed to be checking Twitter while you're on the show. David,
are you going to be posting this on Twitter? No. First thing, yes, he posts it.
So we're going to get to that. I want more votes to come in. We'll get to the trade at the end of the show that Doc is trying to make in a fantasy baseball league we're in. So we'll get to that.
That was offered, but David didn't even deny being a liar. So be careful if you trust this guy.
Before we get into that, we got to always hop in our comments. We got our guy Forrest in the chat. He's driving out of service, but he's trying to check in before he loses service here. He has also Cheesecake, makes the ladies get very hot. He loves Cheesecake swag. Marty, why did the Tigers all of a sudden start to play well today? From Toby,
I don't know what happened. We're just as puzzled as you are, Toby. No one knows.
Alex Faedo with 8 strikeouts. That's crazy.
Yeah, Alex Faedo is not very good. But of course, you guys know we're going to talk about our WOW players of the week. Bring out your dead. We've talked about some upcoming schedules. We talk about our 2-start pitchers. You know the deal. Let's get into it. Let's go through the Triple Play Fantasy Rundown, starting with our WOW players of the week. Kicking things off with Owen Miller of the Milwaukee Brewers. You may have remembered him with the Cleveland Guardians. Over his last 7 games, a 393, 414, 786 slash line, 3 home runs, 2 steals to go along with it. He's got 24 hits, 10 for extra bases, 8 RBI, and 10 runs scored across 16 games in May. I should have looked and see who wanted to do Owen Miller, because I totally forgot to look. I think, Marty, you said you were going to do the Millers tonight. Now that's coming back to me. Marty, Owen Miller was pretty much a nobody with the Cleveland Guardians. Is he somebody with the Milwaukee Brewers?
Do you mean Owen Miller, my 48th round pick in the Triple Players Ball? Is that who you're talking about?
Gosh, I'm finding a new podcast.
I'm currently first place, not only in our division or our league, but overall. So shout out to me. But yeah, for Owen Miller on the Brewers, first base, second base, and third base eligible not only in TGFBI, but also like NFBC, but also in Yahoo. So yeah, he's batting leadoff. In the deep league, he's fine. 15-team league, sure, play the hot hand for a little bit. He's getting a stolen base there. But 10, 12 teams, I saw him get picked up in my infamous 10-team league. I wouldn't do it, but larger 15-team leagues, yeah, that's fine.
Yeah, I think you got to ride the hot hand in those 15-team leagues while you can. And Owen Miller is definitely one of those kind of dudes. I wouldn't necessarily count on him being a contributor down the stretch all season, but again, somebody that you got to make sure you take advantage of while he's performing well. Speaking of performing well, this former first-round pick, Mickey Moniak, formerly of the Philadelphia Phillies, is doing big things with the Los Angeles Angels at the expense of Taylor Ward, LC. Over his last 7 games, he's got a 400, 900 slash line, 2 home runs, 5 RBIs. He's homered in 2 straight games and started 3 straight games in left field and at the leadoff spot going into last night's games. Mickey Moniak, again, the Angels seem like they can't necessarily find those consistent pieces outside of Ohtani and Trout. We thought Taylor Ward might be one of those guys. Very much underperformed this year. Moniak is getting kind of the starts in exchange for him here. Is Moniak the real deal?
Well, he was first overall pick. He's got the talent. He's got, that's quite a pedigree. His performance right now is really inflated by his BABIP. He's currently sitting at 563, but he has a 296 XBA. He's hitting well. His zone contact rate is actually at 83%. Which is interesting because his strikeout rate's really high. And that's really what has me concerned the most, that 34% strikeout rate, 3% walk rate. Just that's going to lead to some violent swings in hot and cold streaks. And I think that's what you can expect with Moniak. He's got a lot of talent. He's got a lot of talent in him. His scouting grades, let's see, his latest scouting grades don't show a lot of raw power or game power, but show a pretty good hit tool. I don't know how to analyze what to say about that, because he's shown some power and a 110 max exit velocity, but the strikeouts really have to have you worried when you start looking at Moniak. They're going to lead to a lot of cold streaks that are going to be frustrating.
Yeah, definitely somebody in points leagues I'm not even looking at. Roto leagues, again, maybe ride it out while you can. Another player I'm not too keen on picking up, so I think LC outlined it well there. Doc, you get the lucky one. You get the Thong DeJong here, who is, I think, been one of the most popular candidates for this type of category across all fantasy baseball shows. We see glimpses of him being a huge impact bat, and then he goes through an unbelievable cold stretch, gets demoted, then gets promoted, then he's off your fantasy team. I'm wondering if he's actually back. Over his last 7 games, 304, 407, 870 slash line. He's got 4 home runs, 10 runs over that time, and even giving you 2 steals. He's homered 5 times in a 10-game span and 8 times in 24 games so far this season. There's been said that he has a shorter stride to the plate this year, so he's got a kind of a different approach here. The Thong DeJong, Doc, what are we doing with him?
This is exactly who he is. I think he's this generation's Randall Grichuk for the Cardinals, where he'll go through hot stretches. They signed him to an extension early, and he's not going to live up to it. His walk percentage and K percentage is pretty much in line with the career. 8.2 for 8 for his career and 26.8 K percentage for 26.1 for his career. Now, granted, that's down from 33.33 last year. I mean, he will give you some pop. He has 20 home run potential. What I think I actually like more is the stolen bases. He had 3 in 77 games last year. He has 3 in 25 games this year, so he might be giving you some double-digit steals if he gets consistent playing time. But max EV, 34th percentile. And this is a guy before the season started, didn't even have an everyday role. Remember, we were talking about how many Cardinals were crammed up at the plate. They had to send Jordan Walker down, Tyler O'Neill to be on the IL. So I don't know.
Yeah, it's very hard with the Cardinals. They're doing always a bunch of different things with their lineup, but that's how you win. Just like guys like Toby picking up DeJong when Machado went on the IL. He's given you more than production than Machado was. That's kind of making the best of that situation when you have a stud go on the IL. So that's how you win fantasy baseball. Toby knows what's up. Jolt in the chat, who I don't recognize. I think this is one of the first times I've seen him. So welcome into the show. Would you want DeJong over Vargas or Arcia rest of season in Roto? I will tell you, it's interesting he puts Roto because I think if he had said points leagues, I would have taken Vargas because Vargas doesn't strike out a lot and has a high walk rate. I still think I would take Vargas, then DeJong, then Arcia personally. I think Vargas is really starting to find his stride and has a better lineup around him. Not as many questionable parts in terms of getting hitters in there. What do you guys think?
I think Vargas for the playing time.
Yeah, Miguel Vargas doesn't strike out a lot. He's walking a ton. He doesn't chase. He looks pretty good out there. He's only 23 years old. That's crazy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I like Arcia as well. I think I might have DeJong third just because I don't know if I trust what he's doing for rest of season. Arcia's been pretty good when he's been healthy.
Yeah, so I think we're all in agreement here that keep Vargas if you have him. That's definitely the priority there. But yeah, DeJong right now is just hot. We don't know if it's going to stay that way. He's definitely shown in the past that he's not a consistent player over the last couple seasons here. Let's talk about some pitching, Doc. Bryan Bello, very high prospect pedigree, and he's shown flashes, but over his last 5 starts, he's really been putting it together. 28 innings, 26 hits over those 28 innings, 8 earned runs, which equates to a 2.57 ERA and 29 Ks over that time. He's got a 12.2% swinging strike rate over these 5 games and a 61.9% ground ball rate. That swinging strike rate's in the top 3rd percentile of baseball, and the 61.9% ground ball rate is like Framber Valdez type of level of ground ball rate production. So a lot to like here from Bryan Bello, but is it the real deal here, Doc?
It is not the real deal. And, high prospect pedigree. I think he's a good streamer, definitely some guy that has some K upside. But when you go to his baseball savant page, it's a Mr. Freeze, 9th percentile hard hit percentage, 16th percentile exit EV, 22nd percentile in X slug. And then you look at the injury history and just kind of the durability. He's gone more than 65 innings once in his career. And that was back in 2019. And he's already at 35 right now. So you have to hope that it holds up. And my apologies, I meant under 90 under 100 between both levels. So I think he's a good, like if you picked him up, you're happy in a DC 50. Like that's great where you got him at. But the expected ERA is almost a full run higher than his normal ERA. So I think he kind of is what he is, a streamer.
A sell high candidate for you, Doc.
I disagree.
Ooh!
Whoa!
Break it out, Cheesecake. Break it out.
I want to know what I'm curious about is how much of those expected stats are from his first start where he got blown up, because his last three or four starts.
I can tell you that if you start talking, I'll get that information for you.
His last 3 starts have been against the Braves, the Mariners, and the Angels. 3 pretty good offenses, and he's had 18 innings pitched over the last 3 and only given up 5 earned runs, which is pretty good. Pretty good ERA, a little bit over 2, with 18 strikeouts in those 18 innings to 6 walks. So I like him. I think he's a pickup everywhere because of his pedigree, because of his arm talent, and I think he's starting to put it together.
So the game against the Mariners, and the Mariners have been a struggling offense, and let's not act like they're more of a name brand at this point. He walked 5 batters.
Yeah.
So, and his home runs per 9 right now is 1.78, and that's not just from the first game.
Yeah, he does seem to give up some home runs.
He gave up 2 last games, 0 against the Mariners, won both games before. He's given up at least 1 home run in every outing besides the Mariners.
Yeah, I look at the Ks. I look at the way he's been able to keep the runs down overall in the last few games. It looks like he's starting to put it together.
He's an American League Edward Cabrera.
What?
You think he's? Oh God, I have no trust in Edward Cabrera right now. I don't know when to pitch him, but I'm throwing Bello out most starts. I didn't throw him out one league where I have him this week because I was scared of the Angels, and he had a really good start.
So, and I can tell you guys in May, right now, he has a 365 xFIP, 458 FIP, Left on base 85.5%. So he's been getting very lucky there. Nine Ks per nine. I'm assuming because May, obviously, it's been pretty much most of where he's been really good. So the XFIP, so XFIP still again 365. So that's still pretty good. But I can see what you're saying too, Doc. The FIP isn't great. Left on base shows that there's room for regression. The BABIP is 270, so it's not like that you could see that regress much. It's definitely a very questionable profile. Obviously, very much a talented pitcher, but how talented is he, I guess, is the question. I like this next pitcher more. The cover boy of this show, Bobby Miller, who I've always liked more than Gavin Stone. I'm a Bobby guy, if you could say. His first start in the big leagues, 5 innings, 4 hits, 1 earned run, and 5 strikeouts, had 10 swinging strikes on his 95 pitches with the average exit velocity, 93.4 miles per hour. That's not great. That's not a good average exit velocity to have, but his fastball consistently reaches 100, and he had 31% usage of that in his first start, mixed in his secondaries really well. I think he'd be the one to keep the rotation spot if Urias comes back. Gavin Stone has not done much to show me that he deserves to stay up. And again, I was definitely, I think you're in the Bobby Miller camp, you're in the Gavin Stone camp in terms of who you think's the better prospect. I've always thought that power fastball would play a lot better in the big leagues here. So again, Marty, you wanted to talk about the Millers tonight. Bobby Miller
time.
Is he somebody that when Fab goes this Sunday, you should be emptying the truck for here?
I wouldn't go over. I mean, and you actually should be at a point where over the last 6 weeks, somebody in your league who spent at least $200. So it's possible you could be able to get him in that 150 range if you believe, and this is a big if you believe he's going to stay up. He's guaranteed one more rotation spot. I believe he's better than Stone. I don't think it's even close with Urias and then now Dustin May out for a while. I will be throwing some bids out there, probably in the triple digits. I'm fully in on him. I think in all leagues he's worth a pickup until further notice. And let me hear what you guys think about this. Harold Reynolds on MLB Network. Yeah, the old Harold Reynolds. He compared him to Josh Beckett.
Oh, interesting.
And I was like, you know what? That's actually pretty cool. 6'5", 220. He's a big boy. We'll see. But yeah, right now Miller, fire him up everywhere if you can get him.
Even in your 10-team leagues, Marty, are you picking him up?
He was already picked up.
In a 10-team league?
Scooped up already, yes. By a Dodger fan. Shout out to Tony, fan of the show, and a good buddy of mine. But yeah, he's already scooped up, so we'll see. But yeah, in a 15-team, I'm going to be buying this weekend.
Yeah. Is Miller going to be durable enough in an innings eater to be Josh Beckett? Because I feel like that was one of Josh Beckett's calling cards, is that even when he got bombed, unless he got really bombed, he'd go like 6 innings every time.
I mean, Bobby Miller, right, is still very young, so maybe
but
not.
I think of him as like Eduardo Rodriguez as a workhorse.
Why is that the name that popped in your head, Eduardo Rodriguez?
I don't know, but I don't hate it. But no, I was gonna say,
win or lose, he always goes. Same with Sandy.
What about Sandy? I was saying Sandy Alcantara would be who I would have picked.
with Miller, they were looking at his specifically with Miller, looking at where he released the ball. It's very similar to where Beckett did. And they're both Dodgers, of course. Although I always think of Beckett as a Red Sox. And I think most people do.
I think of him as a Marlin.
Whoa, touche. Champion?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's where I remember him too. Like when he came up and led that World Series team in 2003. That's definitely where my mind goes. This next guy kind of looks like him a little bit in terms of the hair and the facial hair. Michael Kopech. I forgot to change the bottom. The stats are right on the graphic, but the reasoning is not. I forgot to change that. Michael Kopech over his last 2 starts, 15 innings, 3 hits, 19 strikeouts to 1 walk. That is legit. He also, from what I've been hearing, was working on changing his release point and his mechanics. He's been kind of experimenting with his pitch mix as well. He's kind of undergoing the so-called changes, if you will, to try to get more effective. And as someone that faced him in a couple leagues this week, he absolutely destroyed me. Seeing that 30+ points from him, from Michael Kopech of all people, how he's performed this year is just a punch to the gut. LC, my question to you is somebody that you just won in Fab over this past week because he was dropped. Is this the real Michael Kopech? Is the old Michael Kopech the old Michael Kopech? Is he somewhere in the middle? very interesting kind of just how quickly he's transformed here. What are your thoughts?
Well, you talked about the change in his release point, and we had Nick on the show, Nick Pollock.
Mm-hmm.
He had said something like, you look at a statistical thing, you try to look for some other thing that you can say, oh, that might be a reason for this increased statistical performance, this improved statistical performance. You try to validate the statistics as they come in, and the change in release point does seem to show that he's doing something different, and it's leading to better results. We all talk about prospect growth being nonlinear. It's the oldest thing in the book. He's been around for a few years, but he still hasn't gotten his footing in the big leagues yet. We all know the arm talent's there. I think you have to move forward and try and pick him up as if he's gotten it, because there's no other pitching.
Mm-hmm.
I really like what he's doing. He hasn't faced good offenses. We'll see what happens when he faces a tough team. But I think, as I said a lot this season, jump to this port because it is stormy out there in those pitching waters. Pick up Kopech, and this might be a good move for your team. And the change you pointed to, I think, is a good reason to expect increased results as long as that continues.
Yeah, keep an eye. You're looking for the tangible changes, and Michael Kopech definitely has some things to trace to there. So, very intriguing player to pick up.
This is the same guy that gave up 4 consecutive home runs.
But I think they said he was tipping his pitches in that game.
I don't care.
That's a tangible reason to give up 4 straight home runs if they know what's coming. That's not a mark against him.
I have hated him ever since.
Oh, you had him on your team?
That was the game that I bet 600 on Tony Disco to not get.
Oh, that's why you don't like. I get that. All right. Well, let's talk about really quick our most added players of the last 7 days here, courtesy of CBS. Bobby Miller does take the top spot here, added in 40% of leagues. Jake Berger, who's been really hot for the White Sox, at 34%. Michael Kopech, Dane Dunning, who is our guy, who's actually not in the chat tonight. It's his favorite guy here.
TED Talks. Yeah, we need a search rescue team. If he's not here, what's going on? He might be dead.
Ted, where are you, buddy? We're worried about you. Michael Lorenzen, James Paxton, Matthew Liberator, and Jorge Soler. Then we also go to the most drops section, and that his headline surprisingly did Seth Lugo get hurt and I just missed the boat on that one?
Yeah, he's on the IL.
Okay, that's why. Yeah, I was like, why is he the most drop player? Graham Ashcraft, who when he's good, he's golden. Graham Ashcraft. When he's bad, he's Graham ass crack, as Marty called him. I said Graham ass hat. He's every negative thing you want to call him right now. He's been brutal. Wade Miley, Brandon Marsh, JP France, Hayden Wisniewski, Jamison Tyone, and Patrick Wisdom, who I believe I heard he was striking out in 50% of his plate appearances in May. He's been just awful, just dreadful. So yeah, drop Patrick Wisdom as of right now. And then as far as schedules for next week, every team plays 6 or 7 games except for the Kansas City Royals and the St. Louis Cardinals. They play 5.
What are you trying to say, Missouri? Why don't you want us to have baseball?
I know. It's just like they got other things on their mind, like the Kansas City Chiefs or something, you know? But anyway, that says your schedule for next week. Just really quick in the chat, Jolt, who's, again, hanging out with us tonight. Speaking of White Sox, what do you guys think of Eloy? Do you think he's a better trade candidate than Renfroe, looking to get more power in my league?
Renfroe, because Eloy will have something happen where he won't play again.
Yeah, I love Hunter Renfroe. I definitely keep Renfroe. Not to mention, he's one of, low key, one of the best outfielders in the game.
And Eloy probably is the bigger name value, so you probably would get a bigger return for Eloy than you would for Hunter Renfroe.
Yeah,
so I think we're all on the same page there with you, Joel. Although it definitely is if your league mate's smart, they'll know Eloy's probably not going to play. So I guess it depends on who your league mates are there. But with that said, LC, I'm going to turn it over to you. There are a lot of people hurting in this past week. So why don't you talk about some bring out your dead?
Eloy is a good segue. We have a lot of hurt from people who have rostered Eloy, a lot of hurt from people like myself who are having to rely on Gene Segura and like if Ellie De La Cruz comes up to the bigs in my in triple players ball DC 50 team to fill out our roster. Injuries are killing, but it's not about me. It's about you guys. And a lot of people wrote in this week. Thanks everyone. I put the tweet out every Wednesday. This is I come by on Thursday night though with my cart and bring out your dead. Today is bring out your dead. Starting off, Marty Graham Ashcraft is Graham Ashcraft yet again. This is a good illustration because Ashcraft is a Stuff Plus guy who should be good according to Stuff Plus, but he's just not good according to his performance. It's an interesting dichotomy. No stat is perfect, but Stuff Plus is something that I do look at with a lot of people. But with Ashcraft, it was a real fooler on you so far. David, you of course brought up Corbin Burns, and he's tested my patience as well. You did suggest that you'd sell him for the naming rights to Marty's firstborn child. Marty, you okay with that? I don't know.
Wait, say it one more time.
Would you take Corbin Burns for the naming rights for your first kid?
Sure. Not this year. No, not this year.
Not this year. Okay.
Last year, yes. Fire him up. I would need more.
I agree. I think Burns plus, maybe Freddie Freeman. I'm not sure.
I almost said that.
Interesting. That's the name that you bring up.
Brockness Monster and Sammy Reed also commented, 2 former guests on our show. Thanks for commenting on Bring Out Your Dead. Brockness brings up Alejandro Kirk. Oh my goodness. The man is currently 583 on the Razzball player rater. No power. That's not been there for almost a calendar year. Sammy also telling us he's got Kirk and Corbin Burns both on his main event team. That's a rough one. Burns, not sure what's wrong with him this year. Not sure. He's just not looking like himself. A few more people writing in. Doc, of course, giving us the Jose Abreu update. Still 0 home runs on the season for Jose Abreu. That is that's a tough one. You're gonna tee up. Let's schedule next week's tweet as well, Doc. Let's just put it in the calendar to go out for next week. The man is washed.
I need Jose Abreu to hit a home run so then I can drop him.
Yeah, you need to get his first home run.
I need to get his first home run. I can't let somebody else roster that. That would be too painful.
I wonder if he would even get picked back up or how quickly. Like, who's going to give him a chance? That's my question. I haven't had the heart to drop him yet, but I did sit him this week. I can't drop him just yet. But that 0 home runs on the season, that number, that 0 gets bigger and bigger every week.
Let me tell you, he might at this pace steal a base before he gets a home run.
It's possible. Carlos Santana has like 5 this season. Real Sports Talk bringing up Nestor Cortez. Nestor Cortez, what it has been with him is the home runs. 1.6 home runs per 9 in April, 1.7 in May. Giving up 6 earned runs 3 games ago, 4 earned runs the last game. I have him on a few rosters as well. I really like what he started last season. Just not doing it this year. Just not bringing it for you. Not taking a round pick 112, 115. Boy, that's about where Logan Gilbert went. It's about where a lot of really good pitchers went this year. And Nestor is just real disappointing. Sam Brewington, first time. Thanks for writing in. Sam, I hear you on Julio. Julio's number 102 on the Razzball player rater this season. For someone who went first overall, second overall, third overall.
Art, I want to say, I took Julio Rodriguez in the FPAS League, number 3 overall, in front of Ronald Acuna Jr.
Oh, my God.
Absolutely brutal.
That hurts. I hurt for you, man. Julio, though, when you look at it, if you put his StatCast ratings next to each other, his batted ball profile is not much different from last season. He could turn it around. This is the ebb and flow of a season, I think that the bones are there for this to come back around. So good luck rest of the season. Otherwise, I got Nestor. I got all the players thrown on the cart. We're gonna bring them out to the ditch for you.
All right, another great week of Bring Out Your Dead. I was trying to, so I just remembered, Doc, that I have your updated doctor's office image, but I forgot I have to change the file type so that way I can actually get it into the stream. I just remembered that.
Yeah.
So no image for the doctor's office. But while I'm looking and pulling that up, we can talk about Marty Party's 2-star pitchers because that's always a good time. So go ahead, take it away, Marty.
And here I am writing into the Timecodes doctor's office. And then Marty, it's your 2-star pitcher. Oh, okay. All right.
Keeping you awake there.
Yes. Okay. Let me go start here with the no doubters. Shane McClanahan. He's a no doubt pitcher. Possible top 3 starting pitcher in all of fantasy baseball. Anybody? Yeah.
I think he is.
Strider, Cole, him. Is that? Or, Cole Strider, him, however you want to look at it. Shane McClanahan at the Chicago Cubs, at the Boston Red Sox. Zach Gallen versus Colorado versus the Braves. And Joe Ryan, he's been outstanding. And every stat you could possibly look at, he's been incredible. At Houston and then versus Cleveland.
Wow, Marty, you said he's good in everything except strikeouts. He had 0 last game, I believe.
He's been excellent all year. I'm not going to look at one game and think anything different of Joe Ryan. He's been incredible the entire season.
Yeah. All right.
Moving on to the should starts. Nathan Eovaldi at Detroit versus Seattle. Zach Eflin at the Cubs at the Red Sox. Bryce Miller versus the Yanks at Texas. Could be risky, but I'm kind of feeling it. Sandy Alcantara versus the Padres versus Oakland. Sonny Gray at Houston versus the Guardians. And Sonny Gray, he's usually been someone that's been a staple in the risky business for me, but 2.59 xERA, career high ground ball rate, his strikeout percentage 29.2. In the Astros, WRC plus of only 90, which is the 11th worst in baseball. In Cleveland, 76 WRC plus, which is the 2nd worst. So Sonny Gray that's a good schedule. I know Houston's going to turn around at some point. That's just what they do. But right now, they're not as good as normal.
Boy, Sandy has a nice 2-start there. That I realize it's a should start. But has Sandy fallen that far, Marty?
I know it was. I don't have a problem with you questioning that. It took a lot from me. That's why I at least gave him the photo. I gave him the shout out on the YouTube. At least you could see him. But let's see. So San Diego, where are they at right now? Oakland, the 7th worst team. So obviously, Oakland sucks. And then San Diego, where are they at right now? First righties.
I don't hate
21st. Yeah, it's either must or should, however you want to look at it. You're not going to sit them.
It's bad when Art is giving you pushback on this stuff.
I love it, man. I love when I think every time we talk about somebody, it gives a chance to kind of lift under the hood because there's 40 something matchups every time I do this. So I'm always interested to see which one pops off. Moving the risky business. So starting with Bryce Elder at Oakland, at Arizona. Marcus Stroman versus the Rays at San Diego. Michael Kopech versus the Angels versus the Detroit Tigers. And then Tony Disco, Anthony Discofani versus Pittsburgh versus Baltimore. And if you're on the YouTube page, you'll see those 4 are highlighted in yellow. In a 15-team league, you're playing those guys no matter what. Marcus Stroman's just on the borderline of 10-team leagues for me. Tampa's, they're the best hitting team in baseball. And the Padres, we know they've been underperforming. And it's been 2 years they've been underperforming, but you'd think they're going to wake up at some point. But with those 4 top guys in a 15-team league, there should starts. In 10 or 12 team, it depends, who else you got kind of in your in the chamber there. But and then moving on to Logan Allen at Baltimore, at Minnesota, Kyle Freeland at Arizona, at KC. There's going to be a league where I play Kyle Freeland. And I don't know if I should feel bad about it or what,
yes.
But I'm I'm definitely going to have to do it. Well, you remember earlier in the year, you guys were mad because I put him as a must sit, and then he did terrible, and you guys didn't say anything, of course. But you all yelled at me. He should have been a risky business. But anyway, Bobby Miller versus Washington versus the Yankees. James Paxton versus Cincinnati versus the Rays. James Paxton, I want to stop here, guys. What are we making of him? Does anybody have any, thoughts on James? Look, 5.16 xERA, terrible.
That's because of yesterday.
31.7 K percentage. I mean, if you're like in a deep points league,
he's not going to pitch the entire season. He's just not durable.
Yeah, that's true. But like, what do you think about for next week?
Who's his matchups?
Versus Cincinnati, versus Tampa Bay, both at home.
I mean, in a league where it's weekly, I would probably play him. But where you can pick your pitchers, I would bench him versus the Rays, but I'd start him in Cincinnati. Assuming it's in Boston.
Yeah, they're both in Boston.
Yeah, Paxton's looking like a team streamer right now. Cincinnati on the road. It's not like Fenway isn't a good hitting park. They're both home starts for him. Yeah. I may start him just because.
And are you talking about in a 15-team league?
In a 15-team, yeah. Just because of the strikeouts he might get in 2 starts.
31.7 K percentage. So and last, DMendy, what do you think, man? Real quick.
So I was looking at his Brooks Baseball page just to see what his average velocity has been in this past start compared to what it was in the starts prior.
Yeah, and just real quick, he's thrown 95 pitches the game before, and I think 107 the game before that. So they're letting him pitch.
So he has had 3 starts in the big leagues this year. He was averaging 96. He was 96.6 on his 4-seam on the 12th, 96.2 on his 4-seam on the 19th. And then on the 24th, it was down to 95.2. And coincidentally, was his worst start of the year. So the velo was down a mile per hour.
Already dipping, huh?
Yeah. So they were talking about, hey, maybe he's amped up. It's his first start when it was in 2 years or something like that at the big leagues. Yeah,
I think 13 years.
It was since April 6, 2021 was the last time he pitched. No, I'm sorry. He did pitch in some spring training game in March, but
but like meaningful back-to-back game baseball.
It's been 2 years, right? Yeah. And the velocity's already ticked down a mile per hour. That's just something I would keep an eye on with him. I'm a little concerned about that. I don't think I'm too keen on him.
Cool. All right. There's your James Paxton breakdown, which I'm sure all of you listeners driving in your car wanted.
Oh, man.
Bryan Bello versus the Reds versus Tampa Bay. Kodai Senga, who I love, by the way. He's one of my favorite pitchers to watch, and he walks way too many people. And until he ever gets that under control, he'll be risky business, probably till the day I die. Versus Phillies versus the Blue Jays. He might even be better just to sit that's 2 tough matchups. And then lastly, we already talked about Nestor a little bit in his struggles at the Mariners, at the Doyers. You'd have to 15-team league. Yeah, I'd fire him up. That's about it. And then lastly, the take a seats with the poster boy, my take a seat poster boy, Yusei Kikuchi versus Milwaukee at the Mets, Kel Quantrill at Baltimore, at Minnesota, Ranger Suarez at the Mets, at Washington, JP France versus Minnesota versus the Angels, Matthew Boyd versus Texas at Chicago, Rich Hill at the Giants versus St. Louis. But shout out to Rich Hill. He's actually been pretty good all year on my bench and my 35th pick in some random draft. But I haven't played him yet, but maybe one day. Trevor Williams at the Dodgers versus Phillies, Adrian Hauser at Toronto, at Cincinnati, Ryan Weathers at Miami versus the Cubs, Ben Lively at Boston versus Milwaukee, Jaime Barrea at the White Sox, at Houston, and then Austin Pruitt versus the Braves at Miami.
Some ugly names on that list for sure.
Wait, Marty, you're saying shout out Rich Hill hasn't been that bad, but you have him on the take a seat?
Yeah, I can't. There's no statistic, whether we look at his strikeout rate, whether we look at his xERA, there's nothing that points to him actually being good for the next start. But he keeps at 43 years old, he just keeps doing it. But yeah, I don't trust him.
He's durable.
Is he?
For 4 or 5 innings.
Yeah. I don't
Enough
know,
to get
Doc.
you the win.
Hey, like I said, if you have him on your team, it's in a DC or it's someone that you picked up the stream, and so you're gonna start him. But like, you got to have 4 or 5 better starters than that. I hope so.
Me
Yeah,
too,
shout
Marty.
out to Dick Mountain, baby.
Doc, why don't you take us to the doctor's office?
That is a pretty good photo. I like that.
Shout out D2 Fantasy Toby for that one.
All right. So looking last week, we went 1-0, a 3.94 ERA, the 1.50 whip. That was a little bit high, and only 10 strikeouts in 16 innings. So we're going to try and get back on track there. But we're going to start out with Josiah Gray.
With the copy of a copy of a copy of a copy of Connor Joe.
I'm sorry, David. Is this your segment?
No, but I just love the titles in the StreamYard. It's hilarious.
It's the first time I haven't changed it this year. But Josiah Gray owned in 23.9% of ESPN leagues, and last 4 road games, he's been great. 25 innings pitched, 6 earned runs, a 23-10 K to walk percentage. Going to face the Royals, who are 3-7 in their last 10 games. They have been cold, and they have a 292 OBP, which is worst in baseball. So for somebody like Josiah Gray that can walk a lot of guys, might not be a problem against Kansas City this weekend. So fire him up. Look at his face. He's ready. The next is Matthew Liberator, and this was just announced today because Ollie Marmol doesn't know how to manage. Shout out Cardinals. But he's owned in 7.3% of ESPN leagues, and he throws 3 different pitches with all different speeds, a fastball in the 90s, a change in the 80s, and a curve in the 70s. So really keeping hitters on their feet. And the Guardians are hitting 219 against lefties, and he's thrown 1 inning since his debut, May 17th. So plenty of rest, and he's fighting for a rotation spot. So, we talked about James Paxton getting a little amped up. Maybe Liberator does too. And then Edward Cabrera, who Art does not like, but he's owned in 6.8% of ESPN leagues, as Art is wagging his finger. And for walks that have been an issue for him, he's issued 2 in the last 11 innings. And just for kind of reference, there was 14 walks in the prior 17.2 innings. Now his ERA is 5.05, but the expected ERA is 4.29. 51 Ks in his last 7 starts, has had at least 6 Ks in all outings. And Angels are batting 253 against righties as opposed to 283 against lefties. So Edward Cabrera will probably get you at least 6 Ks, a couple walks, but he hasn't blown up yet this year.
All right. That's good work there from Doc. Let's go and let's talk about Marty's party and who's invited.
Party, baby. It is time to.
Yo, that one with Taylor Walls last week was so crazy. Oh my God. I wish we could talk about it on air.
Wait, what happened?
Marty, oh my God, you were like jumping off the roof and like drinking all this different stuff. It's crazy you don't even remember that party with Taylor Walls.
Okay. I'm a little behind this week, but yes, yeah. I got it. Yes. Me and we went to the window and then to
the walls.
Yes, sir. All right, Marty's party. These are the guys who may or may not be invited, and as always, every single one of us plays along. Only one guy's invited. My parents are only going to be gone like a few hours, so it's like a quick thing. Like, hey man, like, yeah, come over. We'll drink some Mountain Dew, eat some Little Caesars, play a little bit of Madden, maybe 2 games if we're lucky. So that's the party. So only one of my guys is coming over. Brenton Doyle, Art and I talked about him over the weekend as we text each other about Fab and what we're not or maybe going to do. Brenton Doyle, outfielder for Colorado, 8% rostered, 3 games at home this weekend versus the Mets. 98th percentile in sprint speed. He's already got you a stolen base this week. 4 home runs, 7 stolen bases on the year over those 77 plate appearances. And I think anytime you're at Colorado, it's worth taking a look at him. Number 2, Jake Boyga. That is Jake Berger, outfielder for the White Sox, 46% rostered in Yahoo leagues. 3 games versus Detroit in Comerica Park, 10 home runs on the year. Detroit has given up the 7th most home runs in all of baseball. And when you go to Berger's baseball savant page, max exit velocity is in the 100th percentile. So I'm not worried at all that it's Comerica Park. If this guy gets if he like makes contact with that ball, it's going through the roof. His barrel percentage is in the 99th percentile. So I really like that. Lastly, let me pull stretch over my paper here. Oh, Akil Badu, 1% rostered. Yes, I found a guy who is literally 1% rostered in Yahoo leagues. Outfielder for Detroit, 6 hits in his last 27 at bats, a home run and a stolen base. He's playing every day again, either batting 5th, 6th, or 7th. 3 games versus the White Sox, and the White Sox have given up the 5th most runs in all of baseball. Guys, I go to you. Is it Brenton, Jake, or Akil who's invited over to play some Madden with me? DMendy, starting with you.
Jake. Has to be Jake.
And why is that?
I mean, first of all, guy's name's Jake Berger. You know he's a good time. Plus, he's been super hot at the plate. White Sox are finding ways to get his bat in the lineup. I think he was even playing some second base. I got to say it's Jake Berger.
Doc?
Yeah, as much as I want to say Akil Badu because he plays for the Tigers, that's kind of like nepotism in a sense, and you're better than that, so no. Brenton Doyle, I don't like that last name, and he's been striking out a lot.
Really?
Too.
It's not the first name that pisses you off? Because
no, we have a friend named Brenton, and then
and he's a good guy.
He's a good guy.
I feel like when you think about like having like kids with your partner and you talk about the names, you always associate it with somebody who you know. So shout out to Brenton. It's hard to be a good guy with that name.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm kind of going on the puns too. Like I feel like Marty, you're a good host. And you'd make a bunch of burgers with Jake Berger. Like you'd have like some cheeseburgers. You'd have like a bison burger there, a veggie burger. It would be a burger party if your parents are gone in a couple hours. So I'm going him.
Okay. Art.
Well, Brenton Doyle is the only one. Well, he's going to get you some speed. He's got a home game and he can come over, bring you some Blue Moon. Blue Moon, of course, created to be Coors Field beer by
I actually
Coors
like
Brewing.
Blue Moon with a slice of orange. You
Get
know what
yourself
I mean?
an orange.
Yeah.
Brenton Doyle is at the home of Blue Moon, which is, for a cheap old Coors beer.
Hey man, it's like closer to 6% on the alcohol. It can get you a couple of those, get you a little twisted.
It's pretty good. So he'll pick up a stolen base or two. And some Blue Moon on the way. So I'm going with Brenton Doyle.
That is an amazing answer. But unfortunately, he's not invited because he's going against Max Scherzer and Justin Verlander. I don't know. Even though it's at Colorado, I don't feel right about that. Akil Badu is banned from my parties after breaking my heart last year. So that leaves, and this is what I put here, Doc. You'll enjoy this. Always a good idea to have burgers at a party. Jake Berger, I can't wait for you to come over. I'm like a medium well kind of guy.
With you too. Yep.
That's where I'm at. So yeah, let's fire him up. Let's have some fun.
Yeah, when you said the parents were gone for a few hours, it had to be more of a gathering.
Like Akil Badu would be like, I'm inviting 100 people over. We're gonna like jump off the roof.
Yeah, Akil Badu is an all or nothing kind of guy.
Yeah, he is. Let's close out the show tonight with a little bit of something different. So we have some talks with you guys, kind of just, I think when we have these talks, it's stuff that might happen in your league, things that might happen, if you're doing dynasty, redraft, or, we just got to try to cover a lot of different topics here. So before the show tonight, we're all sitting here and Doc is telling us, hey guys, I think in our home league, I might have a trade going down. And he tells me this in a text earlier today. And we don't think a trade's actually going to happen. So he sits here and he tells Marty and myself before Art comes on, he tells us the trade. And Marty and me are...
I was going to say, David, I got a text message an hour and a half prior with a breakdown of the trade. And I immediately said, for Doc's side, because I'm not giving it away yet, you have to do it right away.
No, don't lie, Marty. You asked how many teams in the league. And then you said...
that's just general information everybody should get. It's because I'm a smart guy. And fans, that's what you do. When someone says, hey, how about this? You got to always ask, how many teams in the league? That's free advice.
Marty's text, give me that side. Nothing about ASAP immediately.
Give me that. I mean,
that's pretty much, it tells you what
and I literally answered right away.
So The people are wondering, what is the trade that Doc was speaking of? And Doc doesn't like doing trades too often. So it has to be a trade that definitely benefits him if he's thinking of making a move here. So I just, for curiosity reasons, I put the trade out on Twitter. It's a social experiment, if you will, because Doc doesn't seem to think that it's a heist of a trade. Or maybe he does, and he's just trying not to, he's just trying to play it cool. I think he knows that it's a heist. So we went to Twitter. And we asked, which side do you think wins? Now here, I'm not going to tell which side is Doc's. So if you're listening right now, I will give you a chance to determine which is the better side. Side 1, they get Freddie Freeman, Sandy Alcantara, Bryce Miller, and Tanner Bybee. Side 2, they get Nolan Gorman, Ryan Mountcastle, JD Martinez, Logan Gilbert, Taj Bradley. So side 1 gets 4 players. Side 2 gets 5 players
in a 12-team points league.
12-team points league. Okay. So I'm going to let that marinate with you guys for a second. If you want to listen to that back and hear the trade again, I will give you a second to do so. Now, I'm sure you guys have your thoughts on who won this trade. I put this trade out on Twitter. Did you guys see what the results were? Or, okay, so you don't know what the results are. Doc, do you know?
I see the results.
Okay, so Marty and Art, you guys haven't seen the results yet.
No.
Okay, I'm going to ask what the percentage is between the two. If you guys can guess what it is.
So how many responses have you had?
So right now we are at 269 responses, and
okay,
just
shout out to DMendy, a quick 200 responses. He just dropped this thing. Oh my god, 10K followers shows up.
It's like an hour ago.
It's still good though.
Well, now it's 272, so we might keep getting some more in.
Hey.
All right. I would say it's 75%.
Side 1?
Side 1, yeah.
Did you say like it was a 12-team points league?
Marty's
I did not, because I didn't think there was 12-team. I didn't even think
it's a very big thing. This is huge for me.
There wasn't context needed.
You said what? The LC? You said
I said 75% would say that the Freeman and Sandy side was better.
I'm going to go 70. No, I'm going to go 65%.
Well, I think you both are underselling the quality of our listenership and people that are on Twitter, because 85% said side 1 heist this trade. And I'm going to read you some of the comments in this thread. Our buddy Jamie Calandra said, I'm racking my brains to find an argument for side 2, but I just can't. Ken Balderson says, normally ask for league context, but not sure it matters here.
All right, touche.
Marty disagrees.
James Diano says, side 1 by a whole lot. Wes says, I will veto it. I'm not going to read Doc's tweet. Real Sports Talk says, if you can guarantee me that Taj stays up in the majors all season, I want that side. So there was one comment for Doc's.
There's a Taj.
Advertising.
Wait,
for
was
Doc's
that the guy who traded for him?
If anybody hasn't realized yet from the narrative of this conversation, Doc got side 1 in this trade, and he is trying everything he can to make sure he doesn't put this whole trade on blast, acting like he got a heist here.
I know Doc. Doc's the friend who only like does something if it somehow benefits him.
Yep.
You know, like he'll ask you to do something only if somehow at the end of the day it's gonna be better for him.
Real quiet. So
we gotta even have Michael.
No. I'm gonna wait till the end. I'm gonna wait till the end.
Before you answer, I know Michael.
Just continue. I'm gonna wait till the end.
I know Michael will watch the shows. Doesn't usually. He told me, he's like, I always watch. I don't comment all the time. Even Mike is in the chat saying Doc is the side 1, and yes, it's lopsided. Mike is the voice of reason. So I'm just going to tell you now, Doc, I would love for you to come back and tell me how this is a fair trade. Good for you for getting this trade. I will not veto it because I don't veto trades unless it's obviously collusion. But good for you, Doc. Good for you. I hope this works out for you. I hope nobody gets hurt. And I hope you get all the way to the semifinals and lose. So,
first of all, Dave, you're not rooting for me to win the trade. You're rooting for me to lose the trade. So you're a liar once again. Before the show started, David asked for me to repeat the trade, and I said, David, are you going to put it on Twitter? No. I'm just curious. Replay it for me. So right there, take a grain of salt with everything David said. Now, in trades, they're born from relationships because in professional sports, just like in fantasy sports, you want to have a good trading partner.
Mhm.
So I did a temperature check on Sandy earlier this year. He was not trading. Great.
Mhm.
I'm working today at my computer, typing away, making calls. I get a text. Who do you want for Nolan Gorman? We start going back and forth. He really wants Nolan Gorman. Just like in sports, people and teams value players higher than the other. So we start saying, who do you like on your team? Who are you willing to trade? Who is off limits? So now we're getting a framework for the deal. Now, originally, this was going to be a 3-for-2, maybe where there was, Mountcastle and JD and Taj for Bryce and Freddie Freeman. And I said, which of my pitchers outside there rank in order? And he had Logan Gilbert up very high, who he had last year and did very well for him. So I sent him a tentative offer and I said, what do you think about this? And it was a 5-for-3 trade with Tanner Bybee not included. And I said, okay, how about you include one more for 5-for-4 so that way you don't have to drop 2 people. And I said, just tell me who's not off limits for the last player. And he included Tanner Bybee in the list of players. So that is how the trade started. Now, I want to bring this up too, because you can see that some trades in real life are ludicrous and maybe don't go through. So I think it was Cody Zeller. It was one of the Zellers and was offered, and the Bobcats were offered 4 first-round picks and did not accept. And that was an awful trade that didn't happen. Freddie Freeman could get hurt tomorrow. You are judging it on paper by how it is now. And on paper, I agree that I won the deal.
We were all waiting for that. We were just,
but he wouldn't have made the deal if he didn't think he was going to win it. I will say this, Doc, what I'm getting out of this, and this is for our listeners. Number one, trades are all about communication. You just don't, you didn't send a random trade to him and just hoping he might take it with no texting. You set it up a couple months in advance. You tell him how beautiful his daughter is. You got him feeling good about himself. Yeah. I like that kind of
Doc's
stuff.
Doc's a trade groomer.
I love it. And yeah, building a good relationship with your league mates. That's important.
Super important.
It was Frank Kaminsky. The Hornets turned down 4 first-round picks for Frank Kaminsky. Now, the fact that a team would even offer 4... Yep, a fact that the team would even offer 4 first-round picks for Frank Kaminsky when some teams didn't even have him valued as a lottery pick shows the juxtaposition of how people evaluate talent. So if somebody really likes a guy, and by the way, it's a 5-for-4, so all 5 of those are rosterable. All 4 on that are rosterable. This is put in context too that he's 2-5 and has a bunch of holes on his team. So he's getting more depth.
Yeah,
for giving up less players.
Gorman has been hitting really well. The one thing I see this year that would give me a little bit of pause because his batted ball quality has been really good is they have been pitching him so far pretty much the same that they pitched him last year as far as percentages of pitches. So I'm wondering if there's an adjustment going to be made to him. So I do think that he's going to come a little bit back down once they adjust to him, but he looks like a different player than he did last year. So I understand why he was a big guy for him. But I do think you got the better. To me, Freeman is starting to wake up from his early season slumber, and he's really going to start raking. The Dodgers, that to me, that Freeman ad is really what makes this, because buying low on Sandy is a good
Freeman.
And
Sandy, this
isn't even a buy low window.
Sandy Alcantara and Freddie Freeman you're getting them at first and second round picks. Like those are first and second round players. And the best player you gave up, Doc, in that trade was Logan Gilbert and Ryan Mountcastle. Like it's crazy. And you're selling Nolan Gorman at his
David, would you trade Corbin Burns for Shane McClanahan right now?
Yeah, I would actually.
Okay, so you traded a guy that you took number 3 overall that you had the first pitcher for a guy that went in the 3rd round in our draft. So ADP really doesn't matter.
But I'm saying like you're taking a guy that was ranked as number 1 or 2 to a guy that was ranked probably as like the 5th or 6th best pitcher. You're getting Sandy Alcantara. He's getting Logan Gilbert, who was probably ranked like 8th round. Taj Bradley, who wasn't even drafted in most leagues, and you're getting Sandy Alcantara, who was the Cy Young winner last year. You're getting Freddie Freeman, who's a top 15 pick, and the best bat you're giving up in the deal is Ryan Mountcastle, who's probably a 6th-round bat. Nolan Gorman, who's peak value right now. Like
JD. We were discussing JD.
Oh,
too.
and David, hold on. Let's talk about JD. I wouldn't trade JD for anyone. JD 4 home runs in the last 5 days. JD won't hit 16 home runs this season. JD has 9 right now after being on the IL, David. So come on. Let's hear it. Let's start hearing. Let's say the words I'm wrong.
This is how good of a salesman Doc
That's
is.
right.
That he is defending against his own trade.
when he just said he won it.
No.
I'm not even sure why I took this garbage.
Yeah, you know what?
It is at the point for David making
most
it seem
people
like
would just be
JD
like-
is dog poop. JD has 9 home runs and 30 RBIs, hitting .268, being on the IL. And David said he would hit under 16 home runs for the year, and it's not even a third of the way through.
He still could do it. If he hits under 16, then the fact is he still has to hit 7 more home runs to
David, it's not Jose Abreu, okay? It's JD Martinez. And by the way, I did try to unload Jose Abreu in this deal, but he wouldn't.
Of course.
Take it.
No one wants Jose Abreu.
No one wants Jose Abreu.
No one wants Abreu.
Forrest, I see Forrest in the comments. I don't know if you were here for the trade discussion. I wonder how you feel about it. If Doc won this trade and just completely just waxed, we call him Prez at our league with this trade. Because I think,
is he a listener of the show?
I told him to tune in on our YouTube page right now. Let's see. I hope
he might have missed the main part of the discussion.
We put in our group chat. I said, guys, everybody turn to the YouTube channel. We're talking about the trade that went down in our home league.
Fred is a really good fantasy player. I just don't like this move. Maybe he proves it wrong and his guys work out.
I think the biggest flaw you're making in this argument is where people were taken in the draft.
But that's not even my main point of my argument. Sandy Alcantara is a freaking stud.
You left a trade with Freeman and Sandy. I mean,
yeah, like
what was that?
I'm not denying it.
I know you can't. You accepted it.
Yeah.
And
I'm also the one that proposed it, and he said yes to.
I think that's the biggest takeaway is that
yes or no.
Literally saying to your league mates, happy birthday. You know what I mean? It's like, not to be sneaky or whatever, but you know what I mean? Like, we're all friends. We're just having a good time. But seriously, let me get Sandy and Freddie from you.
Yes or no? Please be honest with me. You said he tentatively offered this trade to you, correct?
We had like some discussions about 2-for-1s, 3-for-2s.
Okay.
And then I asked, who do you want outside of
okay. So when the trade agreement was in place, what did he say when the trade agreement was in place?
I said, tell me rank my pitchers who you want.
No, I know.
No. But and then he gave me the order. He had Logan Gilbert second. And I said, I need to look some more in when I get home, and you'd probably have to include one guy to make it easier. This would be a blockbuster trade, but what do you think? I send this side, you send this side. He said, okay, I can get down with that. You tell me who you'd want me to include to get it done. So he double texted me and said, tell me who you wanted it to get done.
Okay, so you sent it back, and he said, all right, agreed. Right?
Yeah, and then figuring out the last person.
Okay, but so that the trade was in place, but then the trade happened while we were recording, right? So who was the one that sent the text that said, okay, are we doing this trade or not, and sent the offer to really push the trade through? Was it you or him?
Oh, it was me before Logan Gilbert start tonight.
There it is. He's the one to get cold
before
feet.
Logan Gilbert start tonight. Because if Logan Gilbert gets hurt, then the trade is void. So from that perspective,
Logan Gilbert
lose out on getting Freddie Freeman and Sandy Alcantara, Doc, right?
Well, Logan right now 30.6 K percentage and a 3.09 xERA. So
he's been good.
Yeah,
my
don't want to
main
overshadow
thing
that. He's been great.
My main thing is, let's say something happens to Logan Gilbert and he waits. Obviously, the deal falls through. Because the trade takes 48 hours, so there's no incentive for me to not try and push it before his outing tonight.
Good for you, Doc. I'm
you know what? You know what?
Happy for you.
This is being a good general manager 101. And unlike David, who doesn't really ever make trades.
I would make trades. Yeah, I have.
David has not made a trade in a while, ever since Artie, who did he trade you for Shane Bieber that David made a really bad trade on, and he's like never done a trade since?
That was Luke Voigt.
David traded Luke Voigt for Shane Bieber one year. And
the year Shane Bieber broke out, yeah.
And David could not stand the fact that he lost a trade and has not made a trade since.
Yes, I have. I made this Max Scherzer trade.
Oh, David made a trade with a guy that didn't.
That was an absolute, like, that should have been vetoed.
David made a trade with someone in our league that didn't check his team and made the trade drunk at a gentleman's club.
But I made it. Defending it.
This stuff should stay in the locker room. I feel like Ali Marmol here.
I made it with a guy that is an avid fantasy baseball player.
Okay, we can leave this discussion here. I think
so. When are we getting him on the show to defend the trade?
That'd be hilarious.
We can get him next week,
dude. Hey, just give me 5 minutes of your time. I want to hear what the hell happened.
We'll get him in for the first 5 minutes.
Like, cocaine is a hell of a drug, man.
That was a fun. I like when the round tables are just like
that was good,
completely just off the wall, no structure. That was good. If you guys are enjoying the show, please make sure you guys show us support. Make sure you guys are subscribed to the YouTube channel and to the podcast feed so you guys never miss an episode. Make sure you guys like the video on YouTube so it can help get us some more traffic on the YouTube channel and across the YouTube sphere. And then if there's anything you want to see on the show, if there are segments you'd like to see or certain things you think that would make the show better, always
I want to see you out more weeks, David.
Out more, well, that you'll be getting that wish in the next couple of weeks. So, or I guess a couple of months, I should say. But yeah, just make sure if anything you guys want to see to let us to make sure we give you the best product possible, just let us know because we're always trying to improve and give you guys what you want. So for Lil Cheesecake, for Doc, for Marty Party, I'm DMendy. We're going to make like a bread truck and we're going to haul these buns. Catch you guys next.